Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. I'm really excited about the matchup that we have here today. This is going to be Stork, one of the greatest Protoss players ever, going up against XiaoShuai, who is, I think, very arguably the best player that is not Korean. Currently #1 in China, even over Mihu. XiaoShuai has been winning all of the tournaments recently. Has been doing fantastically, made it into ACS, right? He's just in phenomenal shape. He's super high up on the ladder. Yeah, he's a killer. He's a killer. So I'm excited to see him against Stork, who, by the way, Stork had a great SSL season. In my opinion, he was the strongest looking player in the round of 24, bar none. Bar none. And I'm not wrong about that. I'm actually correct. And I know he didn't end up making it as far as I was predicting. I really thought he was going to be able to win Group D, and he kind of fell out with a little bit of a whimper at that point. But he was playing fantastically, and he's still playing fantastically. For people who are a big fan of the KCM Race Survival series, that I certainly am a big fan of, Stork has been dominating there. He's got one of the best records in the league. He's putting out killer games. He's in very good shape in all the matchups. I think his Protoss vs. Terran especially, but I've even been watching his Protoss vs. Zergs. And I say this as someone who was literally a Stork anti-fan back in the day. Like, I hated Stork style. He represented to me back in, I want to call it my playing days, but I actually play so much still. But back in my older playing days, he represented everything I hated about Protoss. And so I never really gave him the respect that he deserved back then. But as an older person with, more, I don't know, more experience or something, like, I gotta say, he's really legitimately very good right now. So I'm going to stop trying to sell Stork to you, and hopefully he beats XiaoShuai here and shows how strong he is. It probably wouldn't be a good look to lose to XiaoShuai, but you gotta give some of these top non-Korean players their due. You know, there's Zhanhun, there's XiaoShuai, there's Mihu, all from China, and a few other players that are really, really good right now. You know, Kid, Jedi, Xuan is doing reasonably well. I'm starting to reach down the list a little bit, but these are some very strong players in China. They're playing professionally. Just to make this clear, they're playing professionally. They have a ton of tournaments over there. They have a big scene. They play with the Koreans. A lot of them use the right VPNs, where they actually have a pretty good connection as well. So these guys are legitimate. So yeah, oops, that's not the button I was looking for. Sorry, zoom in button. But yeah, and of course we have some really, really strong players outside of China and Korea as well. Well, I would say primarily DeWalt. I feel like he is a different level from everyone else, but there's some other very, very good players right now. You know, we have Boneth, of course, Zeke whenever he's active, Gypsy and Crossy, and there's definitely some very strong players. So I love to see them against some of these top players. But yeah, I think XiaoShuai is probably a little bit of a level above a lot of those. Maybe only DeWalt kind of holding tight with that, in my personal opinion. Anyways, we're on Minstrel, which Minstrel is becoming one of my absolute favorite maps, being a 2-player map. And yeah, I'm going to zoom way out because this is kind of early. There's nothing crazy happening, right? Like, I'm jumping around while I'm kind of building this backstory, but it's like, okay, a layer, 3 hatches. Okay, you went Nexus first. Yeah. Yeah, there's the Cybernex core. Okay, second gas, Stargate. Okay, we get it. This is all really standard stuff. No one's being aggressive. Stork's keeping his probe alive. There's no mind games going on. Okay, so let's talk about Minstrel for a minute, because I really think that they have really taken 2-player maps to another level with this map. Obviously, it has some issues that all 2-player maps do, generally speaking. Like, for instance, Terran generally is a little bit strong against Zerg on 2-player maps, and that has to do with how hard it is to get a 4th base. Protoss is always very strong against Terran on 2-player maps, and that has to do with the fact that they can offensive gate. I mean, not just offensive gate, but in fact, not even that not even being part of it, but rather offensive gas. You know, and honestly, I don't see that problem in Zerg vs. Protoss. I don't see any problems on 2-player maps there. But in those 2 other matchups, they're definitely, the balance shifts a bit. Ooh, very nice location for a Zealot. Damn, look at that. I thought he might actually, I thought this might count as a tree and he might get some missed shots, but I didn't see any missed shots there. So, I don't know if you guys knew that, but trees actually give cover, similar to high ground. I remember back when I learned that as a wee young lad, I used to siege my tanks under trees. But let's talk about Minstrel before the game actually speeds up. So Minstrel, it has this center path and this really funny looking double base that actually gets taken sometime because the map is so crazy. One of the more interesting bases is like the more natural third base is this one, but you can attack it from behind so easily. So it's, even though this is the easier one to take, look at that. That's really difficult to defend your minerals. Then you have this base up on the high ground, but it's got multiple entrances and it's further away. And then you have a corner base that's much more defendable once you get this base up. But then you look at the center, right? You have that center path, but also, look at this. You can go around and go through. You can also open up this area. There's eggs here. You can't see it in Fog of War, but there's eggs that you can kill to walk through or obviously mine it out. And of course, both sides have that. It is symmetrical. And then, of course, you have the lower paths that have bases in them as well. And so this map has become really interesting because it's got a lot of lanes. But, and the thing is, lanes aren't the only thing. Like, lanes don't just make a good map. If you look at Eclipse, Eclipse was like a 3-lane map. But you couldn't switch between lanes quickly. Like, you had to go all the way to the end of the lane to switch. And this isn't quite like that, right? Like, you can go up here, and then you can switch to this lane, or you can come back here partway and switch to this lane. The bottom lanes are further away, and you have to go further to switch to them. So, I feel like they did something right with Minstrel. It feels good to play. It feels fun and exciting and different. And we had Eclipse in the map pool for years, and it was statistically one of the worst, most imbalanced maps ever. So I am hoping that Minstrel stays around because I can't get enough of it. Okay, enough talking about the maps, enough building this up, because now we have Mutalisks, now we have Scourge, we have Archons being made by Stork. He's really figured out what's going on. He has a lot of Corsairs here as well. He already has that +1 flyer carapace is almost done here for XiaoShuai. Definitely wants that to battle against these Corsairs. But Stork with a very good move out here. Having that Archon makes it so much harder for Zerg to catch those Corsairs. You simply fly them over the Archon and it does massive damage against Scourge or against Mutas. That's a lot of Scourge though, and I'm definitely nervous for him. Oh, and see, he does get one very good shot there. And you can see it's like kind of keeping those Mutas back. The Scourge have to fly away. Mutas going on top of the Zealots, they kind of get ahead of the Archon. So Stork, excuse me, is just going to pull those back. The Corsairs all make it home. 7 Corsairs right now, more being made. 8 Corsairs, 9th on the way. I always like games that open up like this. And they're both going to throw the switch into switching up their macro very soon here. You can see that Stork right now is on 6 gates. I think we're going to see him add 2 more. But maybe he actually wants to go 3rd Nexus first. I'm actually a big fan of when and how Protoss players decide to go 3rd Nexus before 8 gateways. Because 8 gateways is so standard. Like, if you're learning Protoss, you're going to go 8 gates before your 3rd Nexus every game. Because that's just, it's like kind of the safest. It gives you enough units that you're not going to die. But the really top Protosses know when they can slip that in before the additional gateways, and I love to see it. Now, hold on. We actually have a big attack from the Mutas. They come in and they see 3 cannons, and he does turn around. The amount of Scourge that he's made here is, like, hilarious. And he's going to try to attack. Not just try, but absolutely smash. He made so many Scourge. But there's enough cannons that the Mutas left over with the amount of damage they've taken can't really attack anyways. Now we have a big swap. Right now, 13 Hydras on the way. Hydra's attack on the way as well. Looking over at Stork's side, he has that third Nexus. He's thrown up a couple cannons already and adding 4 more gates. So he's going up to 10 gates immediately here to try to get that production really going. He's got a lot of speed zealots running around, trying to keep track of what's going on in this game, but there's enough Hydras that I don't think that he can really do very much here. You can see the Hydras coming out. He probably wants to get the Archon, because the Mutas come back, started attacking the Zealot. They're not afraid of this Archon anymore, because if the Archon comes close enough to hit them, it's going to die to Hydras. So Stork, of course, knowing this, going to turn that around and end up running home. Lurker upgrade on the way here for XiaoShuai, who is adding a ton of drones as well. Going to get up into the 60s at this point. We have Psystorm. We have range still on the way here, but not ready. Kadarian Amulet coming up. Of course, Kadarian Amulet makes it quicker for them to get their first Psystorm, as well as they can hold 3 Psystorms as they gain energy instead of 2. A full energy High Templar before Kadarian Amulet casts 2 Psystorms, and then has to wait approximately 30 seconds for another Psystorm. So it actually makes a huge difference. It's a very, very strong upgrade. Definitely one you want to get in any game that's going to go any length over like a very fast game. It is a super powerful upgrade that you want. I want to take a look. Does he have a secondary forge? No. Robo. Okay, another cannon. Just the 1 forge. So just 1 forge right now for Stork. He is getting +2 armor. Over on XiaoShuai's side, he's actually adding a 3rd evolution chamber. We just saw that. And I am a huge fan of 3 evolution chambers in this matchup as well for Zerg. I love seeing that. It's kind of an older style. But yeah, getting into those melee upgrades is fantastic as later game. We've talked about this before, where what you actually want to go is like more of a Ling Lurker type of army. And when you start getting a big economy like this, look at this. He's got 65 drones. You can afford 3 Evos making upgrades. This is not a game where we're seeing a ton of engagements so far. We've had some decent engagements, but we're not seeing a ton of them. And it's not like back and forth, lose tons of army, make sure you're maximizing how many units you make. This is a game where you get a lot of upgrades and you try to be more efficient later on. Now, Stork taking a 4th Nexus up here. One thing to note is that Adrenal Glands are on the way, as well as the Defiler Mounds. So that Hive Tech is going to be kicking in relatively soon here for XiaoShuai. The Adrenal upgrade is one of the best in the entire game and definitely can change how things are going to be looking. Also, with the Defiler Mound coming up, the Dragoons will lose a lot of power. Both to the plagues that are going to go off onto them, but also just Darkstorm in general, making them mostly useless. They aren't completely useless still. You actually still generally utilize Dragoons in the late game, but they aren't as good. And at that point, we might need to see Stork go into Reavers. Now, Stork, you can see, he tried the middle lane. He kind of poked here. It's like, okay, well, we're not going to go over the bridge. Pulls back. Comes down to this lane number 4, I guess we could call it. We don't really have great names for these yet. But yeah, he comes up this way, and it's a light Lurker defense. This is not that big a deal. He can definitely kill this. Now, a Scourge coming up. Oh, I think he wanted to pick that, but missed it, maybe? And you can see right now, XiaoShuai utilizing these Mutalisks to kill the High Templars as well as he can. He is actually getting some kills. Don't forget, he killed all those Corsairs earlier, so that is paying off for him now. And there's only like 1 Psystorm left at the moment. So he gets a really, really high quality one down right there. The Zealots are almost gone. Stork has to get out of here with these Dragoons. He cannot be staying around unless he's just going to break everything. But yeah, Dragoons don't fight well alone. As you can see, as more units come in, they start to trade really poorly. In the last 10 seconds, he went from a big group of Dragoons to losing 6. You definitely need Zealots in there. Dragoons, again, kind of the longer-term support unit that's supposed to gain you value over time. You do not want to be losing these consistently. Now, coming back up, he is going to be able to pick off some of these Lurkers. The Darkstorm goes down, and of course, this is going to greatly reduce the damage that he can deal. But the Darkstorm does help you aim your Psystorms, as Stork shows us there. The Zealot's getting that Defiler. In fact, picks off another one as well. Some Zerglings coming down, but not getting underneath. Don't forget, the Dragoons under the Darkstorm are safe from Hydra attacks. Just to mention, not from Lurker attacks. The entirety of the Lurker attack does count as splash damage, similar to Fire Bats. Now, Zealot's hitting 6 o'clock right now. Zergling's coming up and trying to clear these. 1-2 upgrades against 1-1, so definitely a bit better on those Zealots, but these are crackling, so they are still able to fight the Zealots, at least. As you start to max out on upgrades, the Zerglings actually become cost-efficient against the Zealots in a lot of situations. Has to do with surface area more than anything else, but yeah, they become so ridiculous after the Adrenal upgrade plus speed upgrade. But enough Zealots here for Stork that it looks like he should be able to pick off 6 o'clock. And this is going to bring XiaoShuai back down to 4 base. And that's what Stork has. So 4 base versus 4 base, I think you have to look at that and say that that's Protoss favored. Now, that being said, Defilers can make anything Zerg favored if you use them correctly. So we'll see if XiaoShuai has those late game Defiler skills to be able to still win this game. Now, Stork coming forward, Darkstorm goes down. That does block the Archon main attack. Archons have splash damage, so they still deal some under Psystorm, but that 30 plus 3 you see, that isn't hitting. So something you have to think about. Darkstorm, just insane. One of the strongest spells ever made in a game. But don't worry. Protoss has the actual strongest spell. Psystorm. I'm gonna go over the tooltip for it. Nope. StarCraft 1, the technology is not there. Okay, so Stork is just roaming about right now. It's kind of a cool little hit squad of units. Pretty good. Really good against Zerglings, this army. He's going to be able to pick off small amounts of Lurkers as well. Going to pick that Lurker really quickly. Starts to come up this ramp. The Archons, if they're fighting with those Zealots, they are just going to absolutely crush Zerglings no matter what the upgrades look like. 2-2 Archons, in fact. Pretty insane. 1-2 on those Zerglings. More upgrades are on the way, though. Another Lurker comes up to burrow. XiaoShuai is going to have to flank this, but in the meantime, he's actually brought a lot of his army up here, and he just throws down a couple Dark Swarms. So this base gets killed. Can Stork kill a base at the same time? Now, you can see that he's having a very hard time killing the Lurker because he's missing all of the shots here. Which, it's always funny to see this, but like he's microing elsewhere, or he's doing something. Like he's bringing units up here to make sure he doesn't lose this base as well. So it's not like he doesn't know that that doesn't hit, but it doesn't hit. It's a problem. Lurkers under Darkstorm are pretty wild. Now, it throws the Storm down. Keeps him down here. If he loses this base, he's going to lose the game. He has retaken a base here. He didn't really deal that much damage to XiaoShuai up here. Looks like he killed a hatchery and he killed a lot of units, but that's it. Reavers are on the way here for Stork. Definitely favoring XiaoShuai at this point. You can see he's brought the supplies a lot closer. He is retaking this base, which is important. Stork does technically have the 6 base. I mean, the 4 base, sorry. Excuse me. He does technically have the 4 base since he's taken that. And it looks like he wants to clear this area, so that's good. He's going to, yeah, he throws down those Psystorms to try to deal with these. And as you can see, that's invincible. The Zealots will come down and deal with that, it looks like. And they've actually been plagued, so you have to actually be careful. The Lurker could actually kill all of them. Isn't that funny? Ah! Okay, well, he runs away from there. And it looks like just some plagues going down over here. Psystorms as well. Trying to utilize these Speedlings and maybe a Darkstorm to get in here and kill some workers. But yeah, this is where the Archons actually still do have some use. That splash damage going to help him to clear out the Zerglings. Gets in front of the Dark Swarm, which is nice. He has only 1 Plasma Shield upgrade. But it is only 1 melee attack upgrade so far for the Zerglings. So actually, the Archons will still fare completely fine against that. But Plasma Shields actually do have a lot of value at this point in the game. They really do. When you're going more and more Archon heavy, it is important. And when you're getting plagued a lot, it is important. Ooh, I actually didn't see that DT, but it looks like the DT got a nice snipe. Took out that Defiler. A lot of Lurkers coming up. Lurkers can do pretty well against those Archons. A lot of splash damage going to be coming in. But looks like Stork wants to try to clear this. Does have a Psystorm in there. Yeah, throws that down. That was actually an excellently thrown Psystorm to minimize damage to his own units. Eggs have been cleared, so there is a path in between those 2 lanes over on that side. This looks like he maybe tried to bring these lurkers up here, but misclicked. I've definitely had a lot of games on this map where this area, these two areas, you can misclick and like sometimes not get your units to go where you think or want them to go. You have to be a little bit careful in this general area. But overall, the pathing's really good for how crazy the map looks. It's really, really good pathing considering. Okay, oh my god, the most insane Psy Storms. Look at 13 kills on that one High Templar with the Psy Storm. Just absurd. More and more Archons. Dude, mass Archons from Stork here. Mass Archons. That's the strat. Absolutely loving it. Breaking through. And you can see XiaoShuai, like, he knows the unit comp he wants to be dealing with here, where he's got, like, a lot of Lurkers and Zerglings. That is kind of like the ultimate combo later game. But as you can see, he doesn't really have them all together at once. You have to make sure that you have, like, kind of the critical mass to deal with that. Of course, you don't want them too clumped because that's where the Psy Storm starts to get you. 2-3 upgrades. We got 3-2-2. Just crazy upgrades on both sides. What's the range attack upgrades looking like? I need to find a range unit. I actually don't see any. Oh, there's one. Okay, +2 on the ranged. Oh, I guess I could have gone over. Well, no, it doesn't say. Okay. Yeah, so Reavers are being made, by the way. We haven't really seen them in play. There's one over there. But now another big attack here to 6 o'clock. And I think he's going to be able to kill this base. He's got so many Archons in here that Zerglings are going to have a hard time fending this off. Now, you do see some Hydras being added in. These might just be to turn into Lurkers. But one thing to note is that Hydras actually counter Archons really, really well. They do full damage to those shields and their range, so it's hard for the Archons to kind of get on top of them and end up killing them. And they shoot very fast as well. So it's just like... Archons do very poorly against ranged units in general. They're really like a lightly ranged anti-melee unit. I think that's the way to look at it. They're great against Zealots. They're great against Zerglings. They're great against Ultras. That type of thing. So, going to be able to kill this hatchery. This is a big, big deal. XiaoShuai has finally taken this space up here. That one is going to be a little bit easier for Stork to put some pressure on. And a huge amount of Lurkers coming in and burrowing. So he definitely does have to pull back. You can see that this is turning into, like, very mobile armies. We have mostly Ling Lurker against mostly Zealot Archon. The Reavers, I think, are going to play a huge part if this game continues onwards, which it looks like it should. Stork has taken another base here. We definitely have some decent harassment there, picking off some probes. But when you're playing against Ling Lurker and really just Dark Swarms in general, Reavers are one of the biggest, best answers that you can have. They are very, very, very important. Oh my god, you can see how many insane kills he's getting. That was crazy. That thing killed like 30 Zerglings. I'm going to leave that selected so when it finishes, we can see what its actual kill count is. Oh, man. Hopefully it finishes those before these Lings come up and kill it. But he is setting up that base. You see Stork now moving through. 26 kills. 28 kills. 32 kills. 36 kills. 39 kills. What a sick Reaver. Now, we have this army coming up. It looks like he should be able to kill some more bases. The Zealot Clump, like, can take a ton of damage from these Lurkers. But very, very few Lurkers actually left around defensively. In the meantime, we have the counterattack coming up from XiaoShuai. Stork going to end up losing this base, it seems. This base being killed. So they're actually trading exactly at the same time on exactly the same basis. But Stork has retaken here. XiaoShuai hasn't lost here yet. He's actually very low on minerals. He's had a very high drone count. All out, all out, all out. So all he has left, he has almost nothing left. So he's got to take this base. He has to keep this now. This is the most important part of the map. Now, if XiaoShuai attacks anymore, it needs to be to bring attention away from this. I don't think he should be attacking anymore. I think at this point, he needs to eliminate this army. Like, well, it looks like he is going to attack a bit more. Because Stork is actually super healthy on minerals up there. Like, he has one very well mining base with like really high minerals, where XiaoShuai is running out right this second. So this attack in. Okay, okay. Burrows it up. Gonna pop some of these Archons, it seems. Okay, that one ends up living. This base getting cleared. Thing is, I think XiaoShuai, it doesn't really matter as much. He doesn't have enough economy to spend out of these hatcheries anyways. It's really all about this base. Okay, I think Stork is actually just going to be able to end this game now. Even though there's like a decent attack here from XiaoShuai, really, this base is the only thing that matters to our Zerg player right now. Stork getting in on top of it. His massive Zealot Archon army going to work. Doing an absolutely fantastic job. And I think that's it. Actually been a killer game. What a great game this was. And I think you can see a lot of the skill that XiaoShuai has. I actually think there's a reasonable chance. Like, who is going to be the first player to qualify for SSL that's not Korean? Mihu, XiaoShuai, and DeWalt are the only three that I think have really any chance. And I honestly, I don't think Mihu's going to do it, even though he's been kind of the strongest historically out of the three. I think his style holds him back slightly from that. I want him to, trust me. I love his play. It's really fun. But I think XiaoShuai and DeWalt have the best chances if you look at the way that they approach this game. Like, this is an excellent game going up against a player who's around a 16 SSL player. And now XiaoShuai is dead. He's long distance mining. I mean, maybe he has a Defiler somewhere and he wants to see what he can get done. He's running around with some cracklings. There's just so many Archons. You're not going to be able to kill these Archons with anything. The long distance mining is not... Yeah, he's starting to pull drones off these weak geysers. If this base wasn't up and he was long distance mining too, maybe you could make an argument for this. It's like a lot of drones. But yeah, there's nothing left here. We're not gonna, yeah, okay, GG. That was an excellent game. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that you're enjoying some of these games with the lesser known players that are still up and coming. Because, I mean, if you want to watch Brood War forever, these new players are eventually going to come into their own and be the players that you want to see. So I think it's fun to see them now, and I think XiaoShuai has a very bright future. All right, guys, thank you much for watching. Hope that you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.